You're tuned in to Shake, Rattle, and Goal, the official podcast of your Springfield Thunderbirds.
Becca's there on the backhand, scoring the save, rebound in the crease, they score!
Hosted by Matt Baker and Steve Forney. A show that's everything Springfield hockey, with interviews including players, coaches, and staff.
The Springfield Indians repeat as the Calder Cup champions.
Listen to this podcast on all major streaming platforms and wherever you download podcasts.
In his first year at the helm, Kevin McDonald and Drew Bannister have the Teamers in the Calder Cup Finals.
Watch the podcast on the official Shake, Rattle, and Goal YouTube page at SRG Podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Matt Baker and Steve Forney.
And this episode number 8 of season 2 of the Shake, Rattle, and Goal podcast is proudly brought to you by our friends at White Lion Brewing in Amherst and in downtown Springfield, by our friends at Brewcade on Walnut Street in Agawam, and by our friends at Landscaping That Fitz. Alongside Matt Baker, I'm Steve Forney. Matt, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Like I was telling you in pre-show, I'm tired. It's been a bang, bang, bang kind of day, but here we are, excited to break down last weekend's and talk about this team. So
we got, for real, this is going to be a fun episode full of jubilance and happiness, because I think that there's really not much to complain about coming out of the weekend. So we are going to get into the weekend games that happened. We're going to take a look at the games coming up. But first, there's just a lot of sort of Thunderbirds bluesy news that I think we need to get to. And I wanted to start with Kapanen. Now, a little off topic. I am so done with this AI. I'm done with technology. I'm done with it. I really am. All I wanted to know from the internet, was how the Blues got Kapanen from the Penguins. So I type in to Google, how did the Blues acquire Kapanen from the Penguins? My result: St. Louis Blues place him on waivers. Former Penguin forward claimed by Oilers. Oilers claim Kapanen. NHL waivers. Blues place former. I have no clue. I have no idea how the Blues got Kapanen. The reason why I want to know is because I feel like he was claimed off of waivers as well. I think so. When we talk about this, there are these tweener guys, right? And what my biggest fear of him coming to Springfield was that we are doing Jacob Vrana 2.0. And I know a lot of people like Jacob Vrana. Personally, as somebody who was that close to the action, that close to the ice, I couldn't stand him. I thought he didn't want to be in Springfield. I thought he gave it he tapped out at 85%. Most of the time he was going 70%.
Yeah.
The worse the team played in the standings, the less effort he gave.
Yep.
And this team, like you mentioned, this team is gelling. This team is really starting to come along. Now you're going to throw this guy in to the mix, and what's going to happen? I don't know, but I don't want to try. I really like what we have. I don't think we need Kapanen. And I quite frankly, I still think that the move that the Blues pulled on the Oilers, stealing Holloway and Broberg, was kind of not shady. It was like, you ever play poker with that one guy and you're like, dude, that's so sketchy. That's not how you play poker, right?
Really? Yeah.
Right, exactly. Like, that's how I felt about it. So if he's going to go anywhere, I'm glad the Oilers chipped away at what the Blues stole. But I'm out on Kapanen. What are your thoughts on that whole situation, Matt?
I mean, for the most part, I agree with what you said. I will say, I think, to be fair for Vrana, he kind of had 2 stints here in Springfield. I thought his first stint, I want to say, was around now. Last year, I feel like it was before the new year. He was on fire. I thought that was his, like, all right, I have to prove it. I do want to be here. I'm going to play. And you saw what Vrana could be. He went back up to the Blues. And then when he came back down, that's where I agree with you. I feel like we never got 100% Vrana, that second stint. So for me, anytime you're sending an NHLer down to the AHL, I would hope they're not happy about it. Like, you shouldn't be, that, because your goal, everything you've worked towards, is to be in the NHL. You made it. You want to stay there. So I think it takes a special person to, and who knows where somebody is in their life. But if you still want to be in the NHL, being sent down mid-season to the AHL, I don't know if I would want a player who's happy about that, first of all. because
but they also have to care. You can't
no,
not
well,
like
yes,
it
and so
and be a bum about it. You got to not care and
right. You have to take the mindset of, you know, screw this. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to make it impossible for them to keep me here in Springfield.
right.
Which means I'm lighting the lamp, which means I'm playing hard. I'm finishing my checks. I'm doing what I need to do to get back up. But that takes a special person. And
Right.
so it's a big wild card for me. I was all afternoon waiting with bated breath because I'm like, all right, what would we get if we get this guy who would rather be in St. Louis, would rather be in the NHL, would rather have been claimed by any other team to stay in the NHL down here. What are we going to get? A guy that's going to quit on us, a guy that's going to give up, a guy that's going to fight to get back. Who knows? It's a wild card. And where this team is clicking, where they're starting to gel, I thought, let's leave well enough alone here. You're going to put Kapanen on the third line? Or, you're going to put him on the first line with Pekka and Alexandrov. I don't know how that would, how that flies.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, I'm good for the Blues didn't want him. They needed to make room for Thomas. Good for the Oilers and good for the Thunderbirds. If we're gelling and if it ain't broke, no need to fix it. So.
Yeah, it's been 8 seasons since he last played in the AHL. So
you can't tell me he'd be like, I'm excited for this. Yay, bus trips again. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
So and granted, he could come up and say, listen, I'll give you 2 weeks of everything I have, and I want to get back to the NHL. And for those 2 weeks, he's flying. And then if he doesn't make it, then what? Right. Then what? So and again, you would understand that. You would want that. Again, like nobody's going to be content with being in the AHL if you believe you still should be in the NHL. And so that's a tough ask of any human. I'm glad the team we have now has bought in to Coach Konowalchuk's and, is this team culture is strong enough, but I think it's fine. I think wins all around. I'm fine with it.
Mm-hmm. No, I do too. I coming off of a weekend that was so strong from the team.
Right.
I just have a hard time being like, well, here's another guy that we want playing big minutes. So whatever you're doing, change it. No, I don't want to do that. And we've been talking about this, right? And I keep saying Christmas. And if they keep having weekends like they have it, they're going to be firing before December 1st. So again, each weekend is different, but I feel like they are ahead of schedule personally. From what I gave them from a schedule, they what I saw this weekend was them ahead of schedule. So
agreed.
I'm okay with that. If I know anything about the Blues history and how this is going to go, as soon as they lose Kasperi Kapanen, now they're going to lose like 4 or 5 forwards, and now they're going to be calling all kinds of guys up and throwing us into turmoil because that's just puck luck. But let's hope it doesn't happen, and wish him nothing but the best. But the Blues continue to load up on tweeners, and Alexandrov, McEachern, Walker, like Alexander Texier. Like I don't know if these guys are real or if they're tweeners, right? And I mean the Bruins are the same way. So like at some point you have to figure out what you have and what you don't have. And I'm not. Yeah, I'm so scarred by the Jacob Vrana towards the end of the season. The one time I think I went to the casino twice, and both times he's there. It's like, dude, you got something better to do. Can you watch some film? Can you hit the gym? Like, why are you at a casino on a Friday night? Like, I don't know. Again, whatever. Do what you want, man. But like, then you come out, you're at the casino Friday night. Then you come out Saturday night. You look sluggish. Like, well,
yeah.
How late were you out? So, I think I like where they're at. I would much rather an addition of a guy like Matt Luff, who moving on. I thoroughly enjoyed his energy, his approach. He's experienced enough to where he's almost like a de facto captain when he's on the ice, to where he can talk to the refs and he got a penalty that I think was kind of a bad call. I think he got kind of a raw deal. In fact, I think they gave him 4 minutes, which I think was really bad.
I wanted to ask you about that. What was said that was at that whole sequence.
Let's just set it up. So that was Saturday night, right?
Saturday night. Yep.
And he got a tripping call, but it ended up being 4 minutes because he got unsportsmanlike conduct, right?
Abusive officials.
Abusive officials.
Was abusive officials or something like that?
Yeah. So I didn't catch what he said. Whatever he said was on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Jack Young had as they say, an itchy trigger finger. I think he is one of those refs that will, you look at him the wrong way. Those baseball umpires, you give him a bad look on a ball call and he throws you out and you're like, dude, seriously, like, come on. So I kind of think it was one of those type of situations, and that, which we'll get back to, remind me of this, that could have cost the Thunderbirds big time, and it didn't, because even though they scored late in the period, they still came back and balled out. So but even after that, I think that he had conversations with the ref in the box that were much calmer, and I don't think he was necessarily apologetic, but I think that he was a gamer, right? He's just a gamer. He's been around. He knows how to, you got
this was my
that boss you know how to talk to. You just kind of sweeten them up. You know what I mean?
And our friend Casey Terreri, send us an email. Let me know if I may be onto something here. That whole sequence, they missed the officials, the referees missed 2 questionable calls against the Thunderbirds. And I don't remember who it was, but it was a trip right in the opposite corner. And then they got, like, maybe 30 seconds after that, they got Luff for a trip. I'm wondering if the ref, like, if you knew you missed it and then you get called out, does that escalate that, that quick trigger finger, like you were saying? Is that going to put you at, like, I knew I messed up, you don't have to call me out on it, get in the box kind of thing? But if I have a problem with the extra 2 minutes, if it wasn't heard by you, it wasn't heard by anybody else. He didn't slam his stick. He didn't slam the door. He didn't make a scene. If he said something to you and it hurt your feelings, then don't invite him to your birthday party.
It's so true. It really is.
If he said something to you, you didn't hear it, nobody else heard it, he didn't slam his stick, he didn't bring attention. Like, I get it. I'm not a huge fan of it. Players need to get their frustrations out. They're upset with themselves. They go in the box, they slam their stick, right? Like,
it's a small box. You can't even, like, pace around in there. Like, it's a tiny little box. Yeah.
You can, again, you might not agree with it, but you can understand how an officiating crew will feel like the player is trying to show them up when all that attention is drawn to it. If he just skated by and said something again that hurt your feelings, then just don't invite him to your birthday party and move on to potentially, and good for the Thunderbirds to not let it change the outcome of the game, but to potentially create an outcome by your call, I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it is what it is. I'm not everybody's out for Springfield. Like, don't get on me with that conspiracy. It was missed tripping calls earlier in the sequence, and then for some reason, a quick trigger on the abusive officials call. But I would just like to see the official swallow your whistle there. If he slams his stick, if he shoots the puck against the boards, if he yells something out that everybody in the arena can hear it, fine. But
and the funny thing is that I'm looking at it right now, and this is kind of super nerdy, but the rule was 39.2 for the unsportsmanlike, which isn't abusive officials, it's disputing decision.
That's what. Yes, you're right. Disputed.
So what the hell does that mean?
What isn't disputed?
Right. Like, what does that mean? I mean, going back to the game Friday night, where the Lehigh Valley goalie thought that there was goaltender interference on one of the goals, and the refs are ready to drop the puck, and he's standing at the blue line with his hands in the air, going, "Watch the replay. He's interfering with me." Blah 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 blah. Now the refs have to go talk to him. They have to go talk to one coach. They have to go talk to the other coach. Now we're wasting 6 minutes of time, all because the goalie refuses to go back to his crease.
Right. Does this mean that
what's the
every
difference?
unsuccessful challenge should be a 2-minute disputing penalty?
It's a great point.
You disputed it. You lost. Get in the box.
Point.
2 minutes. You
Point.
know, that's a silly rule. That's archaic. Get it out.
Yeah. Normally
I
have an AHL rule book around here and I can't find it, but I wanted to actually read the damn thing. But yeah, just I thought that extra 2 was bad. And even right before that, Hugh McGinn got a penalty for a face-off violation for batting the puck with his hand. Yeah. And he came to the box and he's like, I didn't hit it with my hand. He was much more calm about it. He's like, I got it. He's like, my hand was on the stick and I got it with the stick. And they just thought it was my hand, which again is another stupid rule. There's way too much good things to talk about, but in sports is like the government. They keep adding rules, but they don't take any away. You know what I mean? They're rule hoarders, basically. It's like, if you don't want your quarterback to get killed, then let your offensive line hold.
Yeah. I see.
That's what's going to keep your quarterback safe. So like, it's the same thing. Like let's just keep taking away goals in hockey because of some stupid rule. So all that aside, from Matt Luff, I like the dude. I think he's going to fit in really well here. I think he's going to be really good. I liked what I saw. I think that's going to continue. He had a pretty solid weekend. But if we do back up, I guess at this point you want to go get right into the Lehigh Valley game, which did
not disappoint.
No, it did not. 4-3 win, some fights, some action, some fun. Your boy Silvergard with another 2 goals in that game. Just all around, I thought the team played really well.
So we'll take it.
Oh my goodness!
2 goals and an F-bomb.
Go ahead on the F-bomb because I couldn't understand much where I was.
It was just great. Look, but like this is what we've been saying since the beginning. Is look, even still, this team is 6-8 in 6th place. We want more wins, right? But if we're just breaking down where this team is and watching them gel and watching them play, this is a team that is continuing to progress. And I just love it. Look, if you can go back on Flow TV and AHL TV and you can watch the post-game interview that Kevin does with Marcus Silvergard. And he basically just said, referring to Tyler Tucker's big check in front of the boards and then a fight to back it up. He just said, the boys saw that and we were like, well, let's bleep and go.
Let's bleep and go, baby.
Bleep and go. They did. And it shows how engaged this team is with each other. I loved it. And no problem with it. The boys, as we're watching it, the boys were like, "Oh, he said a bad word." Oh. But they were, they were clapping for it. It was but I said to him, like, well, this is emotion. You have emotion. You played hard. What we talked about last week, learning how to win. 2 tough games in Hershey. You get away with 1 point there, but you're learning the steps. You're learning how to play 60 minutes worth of hockey to collectively put together wins. And, after 60 minutes of playing hockey, 20 plus minutes of ice time, I'm sure for Silvergard, you want to let out an F-bomb. So, it is what it is. Yep. I'm okay with it.
Yep.
And it's my guy. It's my guy.
And I will sort of tap ourselves on the back because it does seem like the team and the coaching staff is listening to our podcast. So hello, everybody, because it seems like all the things that we brought up were addressed this weekend. I mean, we wanted more tipped goals in front of the net, more traffic. We got that.
We wanted 2
of them. We got more physicality. They were excellent through the neutral zone. That's been my biggest gripe for 2 weeks. They were great through the neutral zone and shutting down the neutral zone. Players that we needed more from, we got more from this weekend. And to me, in this game, and mentioned it briefly, Tyler Tucker was absolutely outstanding. It's the fastest I've seen him. He laid the big, huge hit. He had a goal, +2, 3 shots, a fight, literally everything you can ask from a defenseman you got from Tyler Tucker in this game. I just thought that he was absolutely phenomenal. And one other that we're going to get to eventually, but Dylan Peterson, this guy, like, he was no points and no goals, no assists, -1 and 4 shots. He must have blocked 9. I mean, and every single time he'd go to the bench, he's wincing because
Yeah.
he just would put his body in front of shots, block them, and let his teammates clear the puck. I just thought that he was absolutely awesome in that Lehigh Valley game. And then the goalies. So, I mean, just the goalies.
We can't say it enough, and I don't want to make it sound like we're just default goalies are great, but man, they were phenomenal. They were phenomenal. And Saturday's game Friday's game against Lehigh Valley, Colton Ellis was just phenomenal. And what
Brilliant.
both goaltenders are doing is they're making huge saves, sprawling kick saves, blocker saves, stick saves early in the games, letting the Thunderbirds figure it out, get into their game, and then the Thunderbirds offense, at least this weekend, kind of took over these games. But I think when you have such solid goaltending in Ellis and Zarenko behind you, I mean, they don't seem as a team that's, to me at least, taking chances. I don't see them gambling a lot, but I think you're able to play a little bit more freely, less stressful when you know you've got Ellis or Zarenko behind you where they've got your back. And again, I said it last week. I'm going to keep saying it because I was critical of Zarenko. Where is that moment when he's just like, don't worry, I got you? And we saw it in Hershey where he played great, didn't come out with the win. We saw it this past weekend, though, against the Checkers, a very good team in their own right. Don't worry, I got you. I will make the saves while you need me to, and then you go get the goals. And that's exactly what happened. And so could not
complimentary
be more
hockey.
proud. Exactly. You know? And I think too often goalies are not thought of as, a player. No, they are the third defenseman. Like that's their job. They're there. They're the netminders. They've got it. And just I couldn't be more proud of, not that I've done anything to help them, but just how they play and how Zarenko has stepped up. And Ellis continues to progress his development. It's just wonderful. It's great to see. And
a lot of credit to the defenseman too for clearing. A lot of the shots were sort of one and done. There wasn't a lot of rebounds. In fact, I think if they gave up a rebound, it usually ended up in a goal. Quite frankly, they gave up a couple of rebound goals, but the defense did a really nice job in front of the net of clearing. There were a couple of times still where there was just a guy wide open in the back door, and you're like, why is that guy there wide open? But I thought the defense was way more sound in front of their own net. And for me, second periods, I've been complaining about second periods really since the season started. In 2 games in second periods, they had the goal advantage at 4-2. So they scored 4, the opposition scored 2. That is how you dominate a second period. Then you go into the third period and you're in control of the game. Or, against Lehigh Valley, it was 2-2, right? They were down 1-0 early. You got it back to 2-2. Third period's anybody's game. So like the stress on the second period to me was addressed and really held nicely this weekend.
Yep. If there's one thing to point out, at least for me, that still continues to be, let's go, it's the power play. And they got one on Saturday. I think they were 0 for 3 on Friday, 1 for 2, I believe, on Saturday. So on the weekend, you're 1 for 5. But I haven't felt like, I figure, and I think power plays come and goes in waves, right? Like you're hot, power plays on fire, power plays cold. We're still cool, right? And when it's bad, it's bad. I think there were a few, I think it was Friday night, that you just couldn't even, I think 2 of them basically go possession time during the power play. And so I'd at least like to see, for me, goals aside, let's just start setting things up with a little bit more consistency and making the team work. Maybe you tire out the penalty kill and get a goal 5-on-5 if you need to. I don't care when the goals come. I want the goals. But it's frustrating when you have the man advantage and you can't even set it up and take the blue line. It's frustrating. So if there's one thing for me, definitely 0 for 3 against Lehigh Valley, 1 for 2 against the Checkers.
Remind me to bring that back up when we talk about the Checkers game, because I want to make a couple things about that goal that they scored. But I thought that. So it's funny because I'm trying to make these videos. The videos they show like during intermission, before the team comes out. So I usually make like 1 or 2, and I send them, and they play during intermission. And I've been sitting here going like, we need for content, for me to make my video, I need goals, I need hits, I need fights, I need stuff that I can put in this video to make people go boom, like, yeah, this is awesome. And that game started off with a Leo Loof hip check that was just straight out of the 80s, absolutely gorgeous. Like, they are starting to feel it. Like, you don't throw those kind of hits if you're Leo Loof unless you're starting to feel it. Hugh McGing had three phenomenal hits on Saturday night. So to me, it's this vibe. I just feel like there's this. I feel like their shoulders are getting a little more stride. They're standing a little bit taller these days, this team, and I think that stems a lot from the physicality. And I don't think they're afraid of anybody anymore.
I love Hugh McGing. Love that player. This was the first weekend, I think, that with confidence I could say that's Hugh McGing.
Yep. 1000%.
I think this year, he has not been a liability. He hasn't been, but uncharacteristic penalties. He's been in the penalty box a lot this year, but you see him. I mean, he had that hit coming out of the penalty box Saturday. And then on that sequence, he followed it up with like 2 more big hits. He had like 3 right in a row there. And you're just like, that's it. Cause that's it. That's that lightning rod. This is it. And if you get this from a Hugh McGing, whether he's playing top line minutes, he's playing third line minutes, penalty kill, power play, whatever, if you're getting this from Hugh McGing, people just follow. That's the type of leader he is. And so this was that first weekend. Again, there's Hugh McGing. There he is.
Yeah, and he's I don't want to say he's an emotional guy, but he's feeling it when he's smiling.
Yeah.
Like, he's always smiling unless he's not, and then you're like, oh, what's wrong with Hugh McGing, right? And they put a little, during one of the timeouts, they put together a little collage of all 3 of his hits back to back from like different angles, which props to the video team for the T-Birds for putting that all together. And he's just grinning ear to ear watching this thing on the bench. And then it ends and everybody's tapping him. And he's just like, he's just like this giggly little kid. And it was awesome. And then I'm like, all right, this dude's feeling it, right? Like, this dude's ready to play. Like,
hey, if I could quote Marcus Silvergard, the boys were just like, let's bleep and go. And like, that's it. Let's bleep and go. And they went. Like, it was that kind of weekend.
Totally. So yeah, a nice win for the T-Birds against Lehigh Valley. I thoroughly enjoyed that game. This was my favorite weekend of the year, obviously, because Saturday I couldn't even sleep. Sit in my living room an hour later going, woo, like, let's go. So the Charlotte game, I had sort of mixed expectations for. I thought, let's just hang. I didn't realize that Charlotte was staying. So Charlotte actually we're recording on Tuesday. So Charlotte actually played today against Hartford at like
they're playing right.
They did the school game.
Yeah,
it was the school. So it was like 11 a.m. So usually it's like the getaway game. Like, it's a Saturday night. You're flying home. You just want to get home, but they weren't. They were comfortably staying in town. So I thought, okay, well that makes it maybe a little trickier for the T-Birds. And I thought that Charlotte sort of gave them all that they had. Like it wasn't like Charlotte had an off night. Like, that's a high class team that fell short, which I credit most, if not all, that to the Springfield and the way that they played in that game on Saturday night.
I completely agree. I mean, coming into the weekend, You are facing a Lehigh Valley team coming off a 3-game winning streak. You've got the Checkers that were sitting there in second place, I believe, prior to.
Yeah.
Bad for the Checkers standpoint. They lose Friday night in Hartford, and they come to us. And I'm with you. You're kind of like, all right, what are we going to see here? Is this an angry Checkers team? We know they're skilled. We know they're talented. The Thunderbirds, the last few years, though, have kind of had their number, similar to like what Bridgeport had last year with the Thunderbirds. So it was, what are we going to get here? And I just felt like this was a Springfield Thunderbird game. It was not to discredit the Checkers. They played fine. They played well. They weren't in the box a lot, so you can't blame it on that. I don't think there were a lot of costly turnovers. It was a great hockey game. And
really
for me, that was what is so inspiring is the wrong word to use. So exciting about this past weekend I never had a sense of, Checkers just don't have it tonight, or Lehigh Valley just didn't have it tonight. We went up against 2 teams ahead of us in the standings playing good hockey, and we played better hockey.
Right.
That was it. And so it's very exciting to see. I mean, we know this, right? And fans, this. It's the AHL. You can't look past one weekend. I mean, look at talk about Leo Loof, 72-hour period that he had. He's on the Thunderbirds. He gets called up. I'm doing a podcast for the Blues because they're like, who is this guy?
That's
the next
right.
day,
and you did nice. You did a great job, by the way.
Thank you. Check it out. The Blues Fan Forum podcast. But it's the AHL. Guys are up. They're down. Who knows what the lineups look like one weekend from the next? All you can do is you take it one game at a time, and they were just up for the challenge this weekend. So it was a great game against the Checkers. And I'm curious to see, with the Checkers playing Tuesday in Hartford, they're back with us Friday. I don't know. We'll get to that game in a minute for Friday night's game, but I think first game of the season series, Springfield versus Checkers, did not disappoint, and I wouldn't expect the season series to sway much from what we saw last weekend.
But you're right. There's no doubt that they do play really well against Charlotte, and they kind of have for a while.
Sorry, real quick to interrupt. I'm looking it up just now. The Checkers lost this morning to the Wolfpack in a shootout, 5-4. So now you got a reeling Checkers team losing 3 straight to us up here in the Northeast, and so
the only problem with that is that both teams got points.
Yeah.
So that's sort of unfortunate, but where you are in the standings, Springfield is every point counts.
Mm-hmm.
You just hope one team comes away with a goose egg. But you're right. I do think that there's something to the Thunderbirds playing this team. They seem to just play them really well. But even still, it's like, and I like to say I feel bad for them, but I kind of don't. Like they were at home on the Sunday before, the 10th, right? And then they go to Hartford, and then Springfield Friday, Saturday, Hartford Tuesday, Springfield Friday, Bridgeport Saturday. So get comfortable. Get comfy. Like you're not like this is like 10 days, but you're not actually going anywhere. You know what I mean? Like you're not leaving.
Springfield to Bridgeport, not a lot of sites to be
really
seen.
So where are they practicing? Like where are they? Like they're not leaving and coming back between Tuesday and Saturday. I can't imagine, right? So or Tuesday and Friday. So that's got to be a tough. I don't know. That's just on a player. That's just got to be a tough, it's like the Bermuda Triangle. Like you're just not home, but you're not on the road. You're like in just a weird place. It's like a trip to Europe, for crying out loud. So
yeah.
I'm interested to see what their psyche is like come Friday. But I think the biggest takeaway for me, and this is one of those things that we've talked about a lot and have sort of been waiting for, the first 2 Thunderbirds goals of the Charlotte game Robertson, Loof, Silvegaard, Kaskamaki, Johannesson, all on the score sheet. And these are these guys that we've been saying, well, you have a lot of these foreign players coming over and they're trying to get used to the game and the style and they're trying to figure it all out. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points on 2 goals from that entire group. And oh, by the way, that power play was on the ice was the Silvegaard goal was Johannesson, Dvorsky, Laferriere, Kaskamaki, Silvegaard. So 4 out of the 5, other than Laferriere, were new guys. And so when we talk about power play struggles, right? Like that's going to happen if you're going to throw 4 rookies from other countries all on the ice together, right? Like that's going to happen.
Yep.
But I think to get that is going to be sort of a door opener to what the potential is for this group. And you know, we talked about it last week and I've noticed it. There's this little kind of sort of chemistry between these Euro guys. And I think that's why Connor Walchuk keeps them together as much as he does, because Dvorsky, Silvegaard, Kaskamaki, Robertson, like they all kind of know where the other person's going to be. And like, I don't know, I'm fascinated. I want to ask Steve Connor Walchuk, like, do you guys have do you have a system for all 3 lines and then like a system for them? You know what I mean? Like, do you like put something different in place? But I mean, Simon Robertson, I know he was scratched at the beginning of he stayed up with the Blues. He got hurt. He's been injured. He comes back. I mean, I don't know. Is this like his 3rd game, maybe 4th game?
Well, he's been in and out. He's had a few injuries already. Obviously, minor ones. He's been up and down as far as injury go. I know that.
Thoroughly impressed with this guy.
Yeah. Yep.
Thoroughly impressed. So add him to the list. I mean,
another one.
They're starting to talk in St. Louis about these guys.
Yeah,
which is good. Good for them.
They should be. That's my biggest concern. Is I hope things don't get derailed too soon. I also want to highlight captain Matthew Pekka. I don't know. Maybe he just understands this is a different team than last year's, but I'm seeing a different type of captain this year. He's on the ground wrestling in Hershey. Saturday, there was a scrum before his game winner in front of the Checkers goalie, in front of Appleby there. And I couldn't make out who it was, but somebody on the Checkers, just, being a hockey player, what they do.
I feel like they threw the Thunderbirds guy on top of their goalie. It was
Nikita Alexandrov.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. What they did. And you could see they had a great camera angle to see it from right behind the net. He took Nikita Alexandrov's, the back of his head, and just kind of mushed him, and just, it's what hockey players do. And I feel like, and I hope I never felt like Matthew Pekka was a pushover by any stretch of the right. I never felt that, but I'm just seeing another level of leadership, emotion, aggression from him this year. And again, I don't know if he's just reading his locker room and saying, this is what this team needs from me, but I love it. I love it. And so as this guy is mushing Nicky's head down, and then he falls on Appleby.
He's using the word mushing.
Yeah, you didn't
I get exactly what you're saying with that adjective. It's a good one.
And Pekka's in there, and he's just not trying to break it up. Like, he's getting in there and giving it to him back. So I love it. And not maybe a 2 or 3 shifts later, he's got the game winner. And I love his lack of celebration. That's the game-winning goal, and he was just like, I knew it.
Yeah, right.
Loved it. And so, I just, we Matthew Pekka, fan favorite, been with the team for years. I'm getting a feel of a different type of leadership this year, and I love it. I still think he's like an even keel guy as far as like in-game emotions and not letting the game get the best of him, but he's just bringing his leadership. I think it's coming from a different place this year, and I love it. I'm excited to watch it.
Well, with that, I'd say I'm like a halfway decent lip reader. Like I'm okay at reading lips. I'm getting better as I teach high school.
I'm losing your hearing,
and B, losing my hearing, and yeah, right. he's always extremely cordial with the refs. In fact, he had a time on Saturday where he got really ticked off, and it might have even been the Matt Luff situation. And before the puck even dropped again, he made a point to skate over and sort of not apologize, but just, heat of the moment, things got the best of me. There was a situation where they had a defensive face-off in their own zone. He's taking it, and the linesman who's up at the blue line throws him out of the face-off circle. And he stands up and puts his arms down, and he's like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, who asked you? You know what I mean? Like, you have, like, go do something else. Like, this has nothing to do with, you're all the way over there. Like, what is this? What does your opinion matter?" And I like that, right? Like, I like that from the captain. Like, linesmen, officials understanding when to go, when to, trust me, there's nothing referees like more than to get compliments and get apologized to and get told they're doing a wonderful job. So he's got both of it. He can get a little emotional and still be able to come back, and he does. He's got kind of puppy dog eyes a little bit. Like, he's got some puppy dog eyes. So he comes in the puppy dog eyes and he's like, "Hey man, I'm really sorry." You know what I mean? And then boom, and then like, you're
and then
back
all
in the
forgiven.
good graces, right? You're back in the good graces of the officials. So you're absolutely right. I think his leadership. I think that this is year 2 now as a captain, right?
Yes.
I think that's something you learn, right? Like, you can be born with leadership, but that doesn't necessarily make you a captain. I think that he is learning how to be the best captain he can be. And this weekend, I thought that he was great, both on the ice and in between whistles, keeping the game under control, keeping things monitored, being diplomatic, really, for his team. And it paid off, and it really did pay off at the end of that game. We do have some other things. We have to get to this fan rant.
Yep.
Because thank goodness you guys just came through. You guys gave us so much stuff to talk about. And we also have, I asked Matt to like pick a player that just stood out to him. And then sure enough, we picked the same player. So I'm going to pick somebody else, but we are going to discuss that a little bit as well. But we do want to thank our friends at White Lion Brewing. Their new location in Amherst on Pleasant Street and in downtown Springfield, Tower Square. Saturday night, I couldn't park anywhere. There was nowhere else to park but Tower Square. There was nowhere else to park. Everything was jam-packed, and Tower Square was wide open. And you know what happened after the game? I went down the ramp, boom, right on Route 5, over the bridge, 57, home in Agawam. That's how it worked. It was great. So feel free, park in Tower Square, bring your ticket to White Lion. They're going to validate your parking, and you're golden. I can't stress that enough, how great of an idea that is. And the walk's the same. It's just 2 blocks in the other direction, right? So the walk's the same as it is from MGM. And while you're there to get your ticket validated, grab some of their beers, Boomer Nachos, Seuss Mac and Cheese. They have fully embraced the city of Springfield, as we all have. And you should embrace them as well as for what they're doing here for the city of Springfield. White Lion Brewing in Amherst and in downtown Springfield, proud to support the SRG podcast. Brewcade on Walnut Street. I have my like, I don't even know how many years it is now. This is my 20-year high school anniversary or high school reunion. God almighty.
Is it? No, is it? Oh yeah.
Yeah. 04. Yeah. And thank goodness we have a Thunderbirds game that night, so I can't go because I don't want to go to that. I don't want to go to that. But there are a select few of us that after the reunion are going to go to Brewcade.
Nice.
And I said I will meet you guys there after the game because I don't want the rest of that nonsense. But I'll meet you there. So I'm looking forward to that. Brewcade, just what it is, beer and arcade games, pool, darts. They have a dart league. So if you're interested in joining a dart league, check them out. Look them up on social media. They have all kinds of stuff, and there's always stuff coming. Mike, our good buddy, always texts me, "This is what we got going on." And there's just stuff. There's just always stuff happening there. It's really fun. They put a lot of hard work into what they're doing. And again, support them. The small businesses care way more about your dollars than the big chains do. So definitely check them out. Brewcade on Walnut Street in Agawam, right over the bridge from the Big E. Definitely check that out. And by our friends at Landscaping That Fits. So we're done. We're all done with the leaves. We're all done. They've all fallen. They've all been collected. Thank the Lord. I saw Rob and I said, he goes, "Hey, I heard you say that I was all done putting down fertilizer." I said, "Well, aren't you? It's like mid-November." He's like, "No, you got to put a winter. I'm coming back to put a winterizer down, and then I'm going to put the lime down." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And the winterizer is what goes down into your soil so that it's ready for spring. It just strengthens your soil so that in the springtime the grass grows fuller. I had no idea. Been a homeowner for like 20 years. I have no idea about the winterizer. So this dude knows what he's talking about. He's going to do the best he can. He's going to support your lawn. And yes, I drive around. I see you people not cleaning up your leaves. If you want him to do it, give him a call, 413-847-0338. And he also mentioned that he is now going to support the podcast throughout the rest of the season, which is really appreciated. He's not winter is not his time, but yet he still wants to support us, what we do. And we are more than happy to support him and all that he does. So Rob, thank you. And we will do everything we can to get you as much business, right? You scratch my back, I'm going to scratch yours. So please check out my friend Rob Fitzpatrick at Landscaping That Fits, 847-0338. His bills to me, his invoices come in an email. I click 2 buttons, Apple Pay, boom, bill paid. It couldn't be any easier. Everything he does is top of the line. So Rob, we appreciate you. Thank you for sponsoring. Thank you for taking care of my yard. And I highly recommend it to anybody else who's looking for those kind of services. Landscaping That Fits. All right, we're going to get into the fan rant. Let's get into the player that stuck out to you the most this weekend.
For me, Hunter Skinner. Hunter Skinner to me was all over the place. I really feel like he is last year, his first full year in Springfield, played well. He was all over the place this year, playing defense, leading the rush, shooting on goal, putting the puck on net. That Matthew Pekka's game-winning goal does not happen without that play at the blue line from Hunter Skinner, and his ability then to not only keep the ball in the zone, keep the puck in the zone, but then have the vision to get it cross ice over there to a streaking Pekka. Just a phenomenal play. And he just, watching it, I noticed it, right? We watch every game though. So it's sometimes hard to pick out, oh, wow, like you see players hitting their stride, getting into their hot streaks. I saw a friend over at Geisler's, and they don't watch all the games. They happened to be at the Thunderdome Friday night, and he's like, I gotta ask, this 55, is he an NHLer? What's going on with him? He was just awesome. The boys loved watching him play. And sure enough, so he's standing out to your casual fan as well. So good on you, Hunter Skinner. I just, for me, it's the little stuff. It's not always sure we like the goal horn, we like the siren, we like the celebration, we like hearing Thunderstruck. We don't hear that stuff unless the little things are happening before that. And I'm just noticing Hunter Skinner is stepping his game up. He's more of a playmaker. You've said it before, and I agree with you. If you're a defenseman and I go a game and was like, did he play? That means you did all right.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you didn't put yourself, you're often as a defenseman you're noticed in a negative play. We're noticing him in positive plays. And so not only is he where he needs to be defensively, he's now standing out, making plays, finishing checks. We know he can scrap. He's playing within himself, and just, again, another player that, good for him, continues to develop, and hope he gets his shot soon, because he had a great weekend.
Yeah, and even the physicality, he had a couple of hits that would have been the check of the game if it wasn't for Hugh McGing out there smashing people and Leo Loof throwing hip checks and Tyler Tucker just absolutely burying guys at the red line. He would have had a couple of checks of the game, and they go by the wayside because of all the other physicality. Hunter, we noticed it. So nice job. And thank you for mentioning that. I'm watching that goal, that game-winning goal by Pekka, and I watch him, he stops the clear with his shins, turns around and whips it in the far corner. And I'm like, oh, that's a great place to throw the puck. And then I see Pekka, great, because everybody's 6'4". I don't even see Pekka from where I am on the other side of the ice. And then boom, boom, goal. I'm like, who was over there? And then you watch that replay, and like that was a spin around cross ice pass, tape to tape, to a guy who snuck behind like just gorgeous chef's kiss to that sequence from Hunter Skinner. Absolutely beautiful. And you're right, that goal doesn't happen without him. I didn't want us to both pick the same guy, so I went with Dylan Peterson, and the reason why was
can't go wrong.
The blocked shots. I mean, we talk about his motor, his physicality, he's scoring goals. He blocked. I wish they kept track of it. This dude must have blocked 35 freaking shots this weekend.
Yeah.
And every time he went to the bench, he's wincing and he's doubled over in pain. And you know what he does? He comes out for the next shift. And it's like, and then he finally gets rewarded with the empty netter. And what does he do? He's banging on the glass to all the fans. He gets a first star. He's throwing his arms up in the air to get the crowd fired up. This dude gets it. He gets the AHL. He gets what wins hockey games. He gets what gets his teammates, the respect from his teammates. I mean, there's nothing guys love more than their teammates out there diving in front of loose puck, in front of shots, and taking them in the shins, taking them in the ribs, taking it. Just phenomenal, Dylan Peterson. And I'm glad he got through the weekend unscathed, because he took a lot of shots. One of them I feel like went right in the onions, and he doubled over, went to the bench and took a couple of deep breaths and came right back. Like, just absolutely, just speaking of it, just balls. Just like that dude was just absolutely an animal when it came to blocking shots. So my tip of the hat this weekend goes to Dylan Peterson. And of course, we've already mentioned it. Let's not, before everybody freaks out. Yes, the goalies were phenomenal.
Yeah,
absolutely phenomenal.
Absolutely.
So you guys gave us a lot on the fan rant on Facebook, and we do appreciate all of your contributions. It gives us fun stuff to talk about. You guys have a different perspective than I think both of us do. And so when you guys and gals send us messages like that, is A, a different perspective, but B, gives us something else to talk about. So I know we've touched on a lot of things that you guys have brought up, but Matt, we might as well sort of rifle through this a little bit and see what the fans think.
And truthfully, look, we have over 30 comments this week to get through. So I'm going to try, listen, I want to keep getting this amount because I think it's great. And I think what we'll do is try to highlight a few of them each week. So if I don't read yours this week, I apologize. It's very possible we have a lot of repeat commenters, engagers. I don't know what the social media word is for it. But if we've read your comments in the past, I might share the wealth and try to give some other people some airtime here. But a lot of it is things that have already echoed as well. But Justin Ulig, his comment, Z's playing out of his mind Saturday, won us that game. We completely agree. He follows it up by saying Peterson is killing it. He looks like the best guy on our team right now. Sean Miller echoes that. He's been saying it all season. The kid can score, block shots, hit, fight, back check, complete player. We completely agree. And that's, Steve Fitting as sort of the player of the week. He was the T-Birds player of the month last month. Goals have slowed down a little bit, but that's okay. The kid is helping this team every possible way. And we talked about this last week. Young teams have to learn how to win. He has learned how to win, and he's coming through and doing that.
For sure. Terriana Aldrich says, I'm thinking this may be the beginning of the team meshing together. They had a great weekend of wins. I'm just hoping coach doesn't mess with the lines because this seems to work. I'm okay with a little bit of tinkering. I do trust. I feel like at this point, seeing him put a bunch of rookies together on the same line, putting 4 out of 5 rookies on a power play, and it works. I'm really willing to give Connor Walchuk the benefit of the doubt right now in terms of his line handling. Yep. So I feel like whatever he comes out with for this weekend, I'm going to be in favor for. So thank you for reaching out, Tiriana.
Yep. Trini King, one part that I wanted to touch upon, she asks, we did have 2 empty net goals that were disqualified, right? Called off. So if anybody missed them, they were the right calls. Well, one was the right call. Friday night's offsides. It was a tough one, but probably the right call to be made. Pekka, Nikki, there was it looked like between the two of them, they didn't know, are you coming across the blue line? Are you not? And so that is why Friday night's empty netter was called off. They had called an offsides. Saturday's got a problem with that one. I saw it on the replay. They called a high stick. It didn't. Now his stick
Did it hit
come
the
up.
stick though?
It did look like it hit. Did it?
It looked like it hit the stick.
You
it
had
hit the
better
stick.
eyes.
Well, it hit the stick and then it bopped off his head.
I saw it. It clearly hits his head, and to me on replay, that's where it changed direction. You couldn't tell. I think maybe it's a similar play as the McGing hand in the face-off circle. His hand is on the stick. His hand and his stick are moving simultaneously. Looks like a hand pass. I don't know. This to me, and was it on Peterson? I think it was on.
I'm not sure. That I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
It definitely hit him in the dome. The question was, did it hit his stick up the air? And
now,
yeah, go ahead.
To me, and again, I'm going on AHL TV's replay. His stick does come up. It crosses the path of the stick, but it looked like it deflects off his helmet. So you're talking about a split second decision. You clearly can probably hear the puck hit something. You see his stick go up. That one, in my opinion, was the more questionable call. But I thought it hit his helmet. Judging by their reaction, I thought it hit his helmet. But what is the guy supposed to do? Like, oh, you're fine. It was a high stick. But it didn't hurt him. They end up getting the empty netter anyway on Saturday.
Just real quick, what are you making that call for, dude? It's a 1-goal game. The net's empty. It's a home rink. I'm not asking the refs to like to just let stuff go, but like that borderline of a call, whether or not it grazed the stick before it hit the guy's helmet before you get an empty netter goal, why are you calling that, dude? You don't have replay. Just let it go, man. Just let the guys play. Every sport is over officiated. Just let them freaking play. Anyway.
I hear you. So no harm, no foul, but there were 2 empty netters called off. Gary Patterson, love the new Thunderbirds website, but it does not get updated, and we can't see past 50-50 winners like we used to be able to. So that was his gripe. Gene Albano, friend of the show, comes to the rescue, and so I just want to make sure, I want to highlight to everybody how you do this. If you want to see, you go onto their website. She highlights this all for us. You click Fan Zone, past 50-50 winner results. It's a yellow tab on the top. Then there's again, in a yellow text, there are past draws.
Mm-hmm.
Click on past draws, and then you'll be able to see the past 50-50 winners. So you can find that information on the website. So thank you, Gary, for the question. And thank you, Gene, for the answer, because there was no way I was going to be able to find that out for you.
Well, if you listen to the PA announcer during the game, he does mention that you can purchase 50-50 raffle tickets from your seat. Just hop online to SpringfieldThunderbirds.com under the Fan Zone section to purchase your 50-50 raffle tickets, and you can look at past winners. Maybe I'll have to add that to the script.
Do you say and you can find past winners?
I don't, but I think I'm going to start.
I think you should. So
just
thank you,
Gary.
Gary and Gene. We appreciate it. Look, and a lot of your comments were about the team gelling. You're seeing it. Lisa, your comment, Ospowicz.
Osepowicz? I'm going with Osepowicz. That's what I'm going with.
Lisa, and I love this one. It's the long term that matters. Very interested to see what happens on Friday. They need to play like they've lost the last 2 games. And I get it. Like, that's in the AHL. I hope the pinnacle of this season is not a 2-game winning streak. And I think, the players understand that. I don't think any of them are happy at being 6-8 right now, because that's what they are. Like, we're sky high, we're excited, but we're 6-8 in 6th place. Not where we want to be. So yeah, you got to keep going. You got to move forward. But yeah, a lot of you, commenting on great weekend. Team is starting to gel, and we're seeing that too. Austin Harrington, I want to highlight You called it 3 dubs this weekend, 2 in the same game. I thought I missed something. I'm like, well, wait a minute, what happened? But Blues end up winning a big game in overtime against the Bruins Saturday afternoon. So it was a very good Blues Thunderbirds weekend for everybody.
Well, just real quick, how that could apply to the Thunderbirds. The Bruins firing head coach Cassidy, Jim Montgomery today, and they went with an assistant coach, which I was shocked by. I thought that Ryan Mujanel, who's the Providence head coach, would have been the best option. And I really thought that we were going to have a shakeup in Providence. They just called up Georgi Merkulov. People are clamoring for Fabian Lysell. And Providence is really reeling right now in the standings. So here's a team that I looked at and said, all this talent stuck in the AHL, where are they going to go? That whole organization, top to bottom, Bruins down to Providence, is kind of a hot mess. So that'd be something to keep an eye on, just as a Thunderbirds fan, because they are better than the record. Both AHL and NHL teams are better than the record.
Yeah.
Where does it go from here, mid-November?
And I've asked you this. I mean, and I've always felt Lysell, like, when is his chance? When his chance coming? And if you are a team kind of reeling, do you want your next generation, not that they're generational stars, but I think you're like, do you want your top players, if all of a sudden Springfield falls apart, St. Louis doesn't want Dvorsky gaining bad habits down here in the AHL, they're going to pull them up and keep closer eyes on. So that's a good point. Who knows what's going to happen with Providence?
Yeah. For
Daniel Flynn, and this will kind of lead us into looking ahead into this weekend. What players from Charlotte do they need to watch for? Same for Hartford as well. Matt Rempe, in his opinion, the guy's going to stir things up on Charlotte. Is it John Leonard? He'll be interesting because he used to play high school hockey here at Cathedral as a Western Mass guy.
I used to call his games.
Yeah,
in high school.
before going to UMass. So what do we have to look forward to for this upcoming weekend? Let's jump into these games.
So real quick, I think you have a lot of experience there in Charlotte. Chris Cuolo's been around, 16 points in 13 games. Trevor Carrick, Benning, you mentioned Leonard, but Hartford has guys that are just producing. Brett Berard is a top prospect. Alex Belzile has been good literally everywhere he's been. And there's one other that, Brennan Othman, Anton Bleed, the former Providence Bruin, Jake Lecision, I think just got called up to the, it's Nathan Sukazy. So this guy is everybody's sort of talking a lot about. But to me, with both of these teams, it's the goaltending. They're only going to get as far as their goaltending allows.
Right. When
Louis Domingue and Dylan Garand are on, they are tough to beat. And the same goes for Charlotte. When their goalies are on, Ken Appleby's a great goalie. Chris Drieger, former Springfield Thunderbird, the pick from the Seattle Kraken from Florida to be their goalie. If those guys are on, the team's on. If they're not, then the team's not. And the same applies here, I guess, right? Like, it really does at this level. Maybe all come down to goaltending and how steady they are.
For me, I think for Charlotte on Friday, this is an interesting game. Let me do this, right? Friday, home against the Checkers, 7:05 puck drop. It's a Deuces Wild game. Get your glizzies, get your dogs, get your beer, get your sodas. Deuces Wild, third jersey night, wearing the blues.
Yes, love those.
It's also Rock 102's Mayflower Marathon food drive pregame. You can bring your cans and non-perishable foods to donate to Rock 102's Mayflower Marathon. And it's also Goalie Glove Oven Mitt night. Try saying that 3 times fast. So I actually they have the pictures up on their socials. Looks pretty cool. Z's holding the oven mitt. My kids are excited to get that one.
I need at least 2.
Well, look, I told the boys, I said, listen, if you guys have an opportunity to get one, you're not sticking your hand in the oven, but they need a new goalie glove for their knee hockey games going on downstairs. So what better for them to use an oven mitt.
Love that.
We need one for the kitchen. And then I figured another one would be nice to have signed by Ellis and Z later in the year.
Smart.
Fun game all the way around Checkers. Here's what's really interesting to me. I think this was a very well played game Checkers, Charlotte, or Checkers and Thunderbirds number 1. Very well played game, very clean game. Not overly physical. It was hockey physical. I am cautiously optimistic. I'll be in attendance on Friday night. I'm expecting some fireworks. I think is it a stretch to think that Charlotte is tired of the Northeast? They haven't slept in their beds in over a week.
It's true.
And are they just about done with it? You got one more game on Saturday in Bridgeport, and then they're out. So you're going to get, and the good news is I think you got a good effort from them last week. You're going to get another solid effort from this team Friday. And I agree with you. I don't know which goaltender they'll have, Appleby or Drieger, but I would expect top goaltending from them. You know, they can score. They're an offensive minded team. So I would look for them to be physical right off the get and look to jump on an early lead in Springfield. As far as Hartford goes, and
well, just can I just real quick on that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What I find fascinating, I think Charlotte, I always talk about the height of some of these teams. Charlotte to me might be the smallest team in the league.
Yes.
I mean, just 5'9", 5'11", 5'11", 5'9", 5'9", 5'11", 5'10", 5'11", 5'8", 2 defensemen that are under 6 feet. So you're not facing these trees like we've talked about in the past. Like, this is a really small team. So if they are physical, I think I like the Thunderbirds in that matchup of physicality. I think that they can more than match whatever Charlotte would bring.
Yeah.
As you were.
Now Hartford
Right.
is the opposite side of that story.
Yes,
and I think you're right. Like some of the names you mentioned, Belzile, Bleed, Rempe, Ottman, these are guys. I mean, and you look at the Rangers, they're so stable right now and dominant. These guys aren't getting their chance to be called up. So they're just content. They're putting their time in here in the AHL. They're winning. They're successful, and they're big. They're massive. I agree with you. What are we getting out of Grand or Domingue? If they're on, you're looking at a much different type of game. I think similar to us. Like I said, Hartford, Springfield, we're not necessarily a team that is taking chances. They're not playing risky hockey, but you can tell they're just playing freely, knowing that they have somebody behind them that can save them if needed. I think Hartford is the same way with their goaltending if they're on. And so I would look for, I mean, we know what we're going to get, Hartford and Springfield. This game Saturday is in Hartford. It is a 6 p.m. puck drop. So a little time difference there than what we're used to. It is a 6 p.m. Puck drop, which I'm fine with because my boys
I love
early.
that.
I like that.
Love that.
That hour, we can
It's
watch the
huge
full
as a
game
parent.
on the couch. They have a soccer game Sunday morning. I don't have to worry about it. So happy about that.
But you know what else? I would go to Hartford and bring the family for a 6 o'clock game. I wouldn't for a 7, but I would do that hour as a parent is massive.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe Saturday night.
Maybe. Do we see a Rempe Sam Bitten? I don't know.
I think it would be good. I think it'd be good for Sam.
I think it would be good for everybody. Rempe, do you feel like in the NHL, I feel he's got to fight every game. He doesn't fight as much in the AHL. At least I don't see. I don't know if guys are like, nah, no need. And in the NHL, he gets challenged and he's still a young guy. He's got to prove himself. I don't know what it is. But he doesn't fight that much in the AHL. So I wouldn't mind seeing a nice little Rempe Bitten brawl there.
You know what I honestly think it is? The Instagram reels, the threads, the Facebook threads, the YouTube shorts, all this other garbage social media things that everybody,
all the stuff that we're trying to do with the podcast.
Exactly, that I can't
and we don't know how,
because we're not 6'8" and punching people. Nobody's interested in us.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They want Matt Rempe versus Ryan Reeves. Matt Rempe versus Matthew Olivier. Matt Rempe versus Trent Frederick. Like whoever it is,
Yeah.
It's like, let's watch it on Instagram. Whereas the AHL doesn't really market themselves that way. And yeah, part of it's like, why would I fight that dude? He's 6'7", 207. No thanks.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't really know if he's that good of a fighter technically. Like his technique. Like I don't, like you said, he's so young. I don't think he's like grown into his body yet.
Once he does,
he's going to start really throwing haymakers. But
I say this behind the safety of my web camera here. And,
yes.
And hey, Matt Rempe, you're cool, dude. Don't worry about it. But
yes, you are.
I would say he's not a very good fighter. He ends up with a black eye every other week. The last fight he had, I forget who it was against. McElrath.
Yes.
In Washington. He fought Dylan McElrath in Washington up there with the Rangers, and he ended up with a nice little gash under his eye from his visor. That actually was a good tilt. McElrath got the better of him.
But you know what though? Like Rempe isn't a goon. Right? Like the word goon, like he doesn't just go out there and play. Like he's a skilled player who just also happens to be 6'7".
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like he's not out there. I don't even think he really does a lot of hitting. Like he's not one of these, he doesn't hit like Sam Bitten. You know what I mean? He's just happens to be 6'7". So people want to fight him. So like I think he is skill first, hitting second, fighting third. So like by the way, I love that. I mean, I love fighting, but wouldn't it be awesome to have a like Tage Thompson out there in Buffalo, to have a guy who's 6'7" and can dangle and skate like the wind, and like that's awesome too. So you don't have to be Zdeno Chara just because you're 6'7". So I think that's sort of more Rempe's game is the hockey side of it, and not the checking and the hitting or in the fighting. So interesting.
But two great games, and look, I mean. I don't think this is a young team, and fans, one weekend at a time. Let's be excited for where this team is at. They're not going to win 20 straight. I just don't like the talent is there, but they're young, and you're going to have good games. You're going to have bad games. Right now, I think we're ascending to playing really, really good hockey. So
at the same time, you're 3 points out of fourth place.
Let's win some, and the teams that you're playing are ahead of you. So like you talk about, it stinks that the Checkers and Hartford go into a shootout. They both get a point. That's fair. Here in Springfield, you can control. Those are your games, and if you are getting points here, I do. You really like 3 here. You do. You've got Checkers in the Thunderdome again. I put it out. I challenged you fans this weekend. Let's make the Checkers feel us in the Thunderdome, and you did. Let's do that again. And so I that's a 2-point game for me. And you're playing in Hartford. You see this team so often. You know each other so well. You come out of there on the road with a point. That's good. But points again. We need points every weekend. The slow start to the season. You need points every weekend, and you're chipping away. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You're chipping away at the standings, and the points will come.
And real quick, because we've already gone long with this episode, which by the way is great. It's fine with me. I think I ruffled some feathers because the first period of Saturday night's game was a library. In the Thunderdome. There was a lot of people in there, and it sounded like a library. And I said, it is way too, I went on the fan page. I said, it's too quiet in here. Make some noise, will you? Second and third period, totally different story. Everybody was super loud, into it. T-Bird's chants, refs, you suck, all that stuff. The first period was a library. So, what
That's
are you
do better
about?
than
It was loud in here. Well, it was the last 40 minutes, but the first 20 was like a snooze-a-rooney. So I'm glad you guys kind of, got with the program. But yes, the more loud, excited, into the game, invested, the team feeds off that. And you can tell when Dylan Peterson's smashing the glass after a goal, when he's waving his arms in the air for getting a third star. You guys matter. Like, you care. Like, the more you care, the more the players feed off that. So bring that energy, bring it every game. If you're going down to Hartford, be loud. I know I'm sure Al's going to be down there. Al, I want to hear that cowbell on Flow Hockey. So let's do it. We want to thank our friends at White Lion Brewing for all their support for us. Check them out in Springfield and in Amherst. We want to thank our friends at Landscaping That Fits for all of your lawn care services. Again, you can call them at 847-0338. Talk to Rob there about that. And by our friends at Brewcade on Walnut Street in Agawam. Thank you guys all so much for supporting us. Thank you, the listener, as always, and the viewer for tuning in.
That's it. Thank you. Keep the fan rants coming. We'll try to get out as much as we can and talk about it. Hey, 2 big dubs this past weekend. We're on a winning streak. Let's keep it rolling. Let's go, T-Birds.